So, what are two things that all four of those figures had in common? Well, the obvious one was they all fell over within a matter of seconds. And number two, Hot Toys or a licensed company didn't make any of them. They're third party figures. And why I think they're not worth it. This is going to be one of those. It might be a little bit of a heated exchange in the comments. I'm welcome for everyone to jump in and kind of comment back. Make sure to like this video. If this is your first time watching, please consider subscribing. And as always, drop a comment, and I'm sure I'm going to hear some comments for this video. In my opinion, whether or not they're worth it to even collect at this point. And this is obviously going to be a very subjective video depending on the type of collector you are. It's going to depend on, how much pre-orders you have, what your space is, your financial situation. I totally get that. So that's why this is I'm accepting the fact that this is going to be a very subjective type of video where there's going to be a lot of comments, and I hope there is a lot of comments. Make sure to comment below and let me know your thoughts. I've been thinking a lot about third-party figures. I have been collecting them. I do have a few more than what you saw in the intro there, and my mentality over the last year or so has really changed. I never was really big into third party, but I have totally pretty much stopped buying them altogether. Yes, I do have a couple open pre-orders right now, but I will not be fulfilling them just because, like I said, of my collecting style and my curation of my collection has totally shifted. This is the Toys era Green Goblin. Got this 2 years ago. This is part of that original first run. I was filming a video about basically the release of that figure, and I really was looking at this one, and I was trying to figure out whether or not this was a suitable, replacement to the Hot Toys version. Now, there are some differences to this. The glide, this is really reminiscent of the very first Spider-Man movie. And why do I say that? Mostly because of the glider. The glider design on this one is different than the one from No Way Home. The No Way Home glider that is used is a different version, so it's not exactly this. But it just really got me thinking about this figure. And then I started looking back on some of the other figures that I had. And, this one I spent a little over $200 on. I don't remember the exact price it was, but this is considered the deluxe because Toys R Us did do it with just the Goblin or the glider. I did do it with the glider. So this was definitely over $200 at the time. And, I was watching some of the videos and stuff, and I can see differences even in the figure. The proportions look better. You got that amazing Willem Dafoe head sculpt. So this is just one of those that I was thinking to myself, like, man, what am I going to do with this one? I know there's people out there that have this. They're going to basically keep it and not get the Hot Toys one because they feel like this is suitable representation of the character. And that's what got me thinking about this very video. And I got bit by the bug. They were making characters that licensed companies weren't making. But the other problem was that when you go to pre-order these things, because there's no payment plans, you kind of forget about them, and they don't come out for 6 months to a year later. And then they whack you for an invoice for 160 $200, and it's like, man, I can't I'm not going to buy that because I'm buying other stuff. And so that's happened to me a few times where I ultimately decided that I had to cut ties. And then I also noticed the quality on some figures that are they're not living up to, the standard. And I'm not expecting third-party companies to be the standard of Hot Toys or InArt. Some companies are definitely striving that way. I mean, the reality is Hot Toys started out as a third-party company, and then when they got licensing, they started acquiring IPs. They're the company that we know today. And if you're a Hot Toys collector or a 1/6 scale collector of any kind, I mean, you may be feeling it right now with the price of figures, the amount of POs, the amount of figures that we have out on the market, and the new ones being released, announced, all this chaos that's going on right now. There's vehicles from Jazz Inc., InArt's making figures, you got dioramas, you got all this stuff, you got, HasLabs. So I want to jump over to a couple examples. And number one, I'm a huge Batman fan. If anyone knows me, Batman is one of my most favorite. 1989 Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman, and 1992 Batman Returns. It's my favorite Batman, of all. And so anything of those films, I usually try to grab everything. I have the Jazz Inc. 89 Batmobile on order. I got the Hot Toys on order. I bought the multiple Batman figures. So I saw this. This came out a couple months ago, Eternal Toys. And I know Mars Toys is potentially making a one of their own, but Eternal Toys announced, and they were the first to release a 1/6 scale Penguin from Batman Returns. Now, this caught my attention because of the promotional photos of this thing. They're making these figures that Hot Toys aren't making, so I'm jumping on them. Or, they're not wasting their time, so they're filling a void, and I'm diving in. That's a great argument. They're so great, and I thought that way. But the reality is, for $180, and then we turn around, and this is what you got. On the left side is what the prototype photo were that was kind of put out there. And I have to admit, a lot of people did question it because it did look really good, like really, really, really good. A few people started getting the figure. The figure on the left is the one that you're getting. Now, like I said, putting this into context, I mean, there's third party figures that are like, if people want to say, well, it's third party, well, I get that. But the reality is, it's a $180 figure. There's very few third party sculpts that I could say that would really rival a Hot Toys figure. I do own two of them that I could say, which is the 66 Mars Toys Joker and the So-So Toys Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin. I think those two sculpts are they're pretty damn close to perfect. They really are. But that doesn't mean the figure is perfect. What do I mean by that? Well, the Boss Man, as you saw, he falls over, weak angles, poor body design. Yes, you could do a body swap. Yes, you could do stuff to modify, but you're just adding on to that cost right there. The 66 Joker, it packed a punch for the value of what that figure was. It was under $200. Anyone who knows, 3 head sculpts, all the accessories. It was an amazing type of figure. Nevertheless, even on the stand, it fell over frontward onto my bat pod and actually knocked my bat pod off the shelf and broke my bat pod. It's fixed since then. My whole point is it still suffered the same fate. Poor ankles. The figure can't stand up on its own, even if it wanted to. Like I said, you're rolling the dice with a third party. That's my opinion. For me, I have a lot of pre-orders out with Hot Toys. I just decided to jump into InArt. I have stuff with Jazz Inc. But the reality is that I got to look and choose and curate my collection. And for me, my opinion about third-party figures is that these aren't like a kind of a centerpiece. They are more of an accessory, a secondary character, if you will. This is the side dish to the main course, so to speak. Needless to say, it's a very dangerous hole to go down to because you can start racking up these orders. Yeah, 180 sounds great, 160, 150. But you guys got to remember, you're dropping a $15 NRD on these things. $20. It's cheap. Yeah, money's cheap. It's cheap to throw $20 on a pre-order. But then when the time comes, and let's say you get 3 invoices for Hot Toys figures, and then you also get a third-party figure, and you can't afford them all, what's hitting the chopping block? Are you going to turn around and cancel one of your Hot Toys figures to make sure you get a third-party figure at the end of the day? I don't think you are. That's just my opinion. And someone basically showed the left side, which is the figure, and the right side is what you got. It's not even the sculpt. Look at the tailoring on the suit. The tie's different. The outfit's different. The jacket's different. I mean, there's a multitude of things that are different. I'm sorry for $180. This is garbage. It really is. It's garbage for $180 down the drain. Gone. That $180, if I had that, that's a payment towards my Jazz Inc. Batmobile and a payment towards my 89 Hot Toys Batmobile. That's just me. So, and I was very close to pre-ordering this, actually. The third-party figures that I have pretty much held up their visual integrity from the prototype. I haven't been duped like this with any of the figures where I thought it was going to look like something and then I got it out of the box. And the only problem that I have in my figures are the actual integrity, structural integrity of the figures, the build. So another figure I want to bring up is this right here. This is from Mars Toys. Now, I don't want to beat up on anyone in particular, any company. I think everyone does do their great things, and there's some else. I'm just trying to give you, once again, this is my perspective. This is Back to the Future Biff from Part 1 by Mars Toys. Anyone knows me, Back to the Future is one of my 4 pillar stones of my childhood. Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, RoboCop, and 89 Batman. And so when this comes out, normally, people I got messaged, I got DM'd, yo, you're going to get this, you're going to get this. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not going to spend a penny on it. And they were shocked. And they're like, why? I was like, because I'm working on other stuff. It's coming at the wrong time. But on top of that, I couldn't spend the money on this quality. Now, there's some positives. The tailoring on this looks really good. I love the cuff boot, the jeans, has that 50s, look, the shirt. Even here, tailoring looks really good. But even here, the sculpt looks horrendous. Yelling. I don't even know why you did a yelling sculpt. It makes no sense. The open mouth looks kind of goofy to me. But for me, I wouldn't spend the money on this in my collection. I have a Back to the Future shelf. I got the DeLorean, as you know, as those who see my video, I have the DeLorean. I got the Part 3 and the Part 1 figures. Hopefully one day I get the Part 2. For me, that's it, completing it. I just think that there's a degradation here between if I had this figure in my collection and my other ones. Sticks out like a sore thumb, in my opinion. And for me, it's just the value. I don't see the value there in this figure to bring into my collection at the end of the day. I have to curate. I have to be particular about the pieces that I bring in. Obviously, finances and space are 2 crucial things. I'm not out there just to grab anything and everything, and especially third party. There's just not enough out there to get me excited about it, especially this. Now, another example is going to be this. Present Toys. We'll go with another company. I talked about, Eternal Toys, Mars Toys. Let's keep it fair. We'll talk about Present Toys. What did I just tell you guys? 4 pillar stones, Ghostbusters. Now we all know the Blitzway Ghostbusters out there are pretty much the only 1/6 scale figures made. They go for $2,000, 2,500, 3,000 for the set. So what happens? Present Toys comes in. Well, we can make these figures for less. And we'll get some sales. So these have been out for a few months. It says cutoff here, available Q1 of 2024. This is what they're calling is the Ghost Hunting Squad V. And they released 2 so far, Peter Venkman, and you have Winston. And, here's the set. They're coming soon for Egon and Ray. I think the sculpt looks awful. Doesn't really look like him. And it's a $210 figure, which you would pay in, so if you paid $30, which I will 100% admit, as of right now, I put $30 down on this figure. So sometime next year, I'm going to get hit with a balance of an invoice of $180. Realistically, I'm not going to be buying that. I'm just not going to, because that $180 for this quality, I honestly would rather save up for the Blitzway. I can't right now, but I'm just saying, I would rather have the better quality in my collection. And like I said, this is just my opinion. Once again, disclaimer, this is my opinion. You're allowed to challenge me. You're allowed to say, oh, that makes no sense. It's okay. It's my money, not yours. 100% okay. Just please keep that in mind. But I bring up Winston because Winston looks even worse. The sculpt doesn't even look like him. It looks like garbage. I have no problem saying that. But there's going to be people out there that'll say, well, I want the representation in my collection. I get it. Hey, I understand that. As collectors, we're being challenged every day, financially, our space, and eventually, we want everything, but we can't have everything. That is just what it is. So you have to cut ties somewhere. Maybe who own vehicles, stop buying vehicles. Hot Toy, you used to collect Marvel. Now you stop Marvel. You're focusing on Star Wars. Or you're getting rid of some figures because you want in art. Whatever the case may be. But for me personally, it's third parties. I have a handful of figures. I've had more trouble with them than I had positive. That is just what the reality is. Not blaming anybody. I decided to make the purchases, and they are what they are. It's not a big deal. Not the end of the world. But I've learned from it. And judging by my collection, I decided that I'm focusing on very specific things, and third party is the one that I'm cutting ties with. You're talking $420. I get an invoice for $180. That's $360 for 2 figures. $360, that's half the price of an '89 Batmobile. You just got to, play the chess game. What's more important, so to speak. So as much as I would want these because they're quote unquote representation of Ghostbusters, my standards have to be a little bit better than that. They have to be. And so that's what I've been doing, is cutting back on the third party completely. And so I would rather pass on these. Yeah, I'll eat the deposit of $60. It is what it is. Chalk it up to a lesson learned, so to speak. But going forward for me, I'm not, third party. It's just something that I'm completely cutting ties with. Definitely, like I said, curating the collection better, just trying to be more focused and centered. But, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Drop a like on this video. Please consider subscribing if this is your first time. But once again, commenting is going to be the most important, because I know this is going to probably ruffle some feathers. My comments maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe you think the same way as I do. Maybe you don't. And you want to, give me another contrasting opinion, which is completely fair. That's what this is all about. Let's have an open discussion. Like I said, drop a like on the video. Please consider subscribing. We're at the time of making this video, I believe we're only a few people away from 2,000 subscribers, which is a fantastic milestone for the channel. Never thought I'd get there. So I really do appreciate the support as always. And like I said, drop a comment on this video below. Let me know. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Or are you kind of 50-50 on it? And where do you stand? Let me know what you think about third-party figures. But until then, this is Mr. Mom Collectibles saying thank you, and I will see you guys in the next video. And just remember, always collect what you want, collect what you love, and enjoy the ride. Have a great day.